Good evening, everybody. I hope you're doing great. It is Tuesday, the 13th of February. We're happy you're here. Many of us were just on a dive trip over the weekend in South Florida. And if you stay posted on the Scuba Friends page on Facebook, you'll get to see a lot of pictures and videos. I still have a bunch more that I need to post. But some highlights included seeing seven loggerhead turtles on Saturday morning, seeing a green turtle on Saturday night, and seeing at least a dozen or more sharks on Sunday. That was intentional. We went shark diving. So Friday night, lots of rays and things too. So yeah. So anyway, I am happy you're here. It is a brain intensive session tonight, so I hope you got your rest. Please get your dive tables out, and I did put in the chat box an electronic version of the file if you prefer an electronic version, or if you just want to have both. I like having both. So let me go ahead and start sharing screen. All right. Any thoughts before we get started here? Okay, let me just say welcome, and our teaching team tonight is really just me and Ronnie. We do have Sarah, dive master in training here, as well as, oh, this is an old slide. Atticus should be on here too. My apologies, Atticus, who's also dive master in training. And so they're just going to be observing for now. And I wanted to call out the schedule. So I sent an email earlier today when I learned that FAMU has closed their pool until March 1st. So a couple of options. One, we have a pool session planned on Saturday, March 16th. Initially, it was going to need to be somewhere other than FAMU, but they felt bad. And even though it's spring break, agreed to have a pool session at FAMU that day. So our options are the following. One, postpone the session completely. Two, find a private pool and have the session on Sunday, the 18th as planned. Or three, come up with another option. Now, Julie did reach out to the Thomasville YMCA and put me in contact with the person in charge there, and their rates are significantly more than FAMU. So FAMU is like $30 a person. The Thomasville YMCA it's $150 an hour. And so, ouch. So, that ends up being like $150 a person to be in a pool, rather than $30. So I don't think that's a super cost-effective thing. And unless you have money burning a hole in your pocket, it does sound nice to be in 83-degree water. But other than that, I don't think that's the best option for us. But I'd love to hear from you all. Your
I
thoughts?
would say $150 is a little steep for a pool session, but
Yeah.
that's my thoughts. I guess the only thing with me and Caitlin, she's working tonight, so she won't be here, but we're going to be out of town basically the whole month of March. So if we did postpone it, we wouldn't be able to do a pool session until I think we get back on March 24th.
Okay, and I know we
Yeah.
have at least one other student who can't go until April, so we will have an April pool session too. But I don't really want to do that to people to make you wait like 2 months, So how about everybody else? Let me just go to, let's see, let me go to my, let me go to my list of people. I'm sorry, my dog just like moved my computer. Stop that, Finn. Okay. So I have Annika, Caitlin, Caleb, Christy, Kenley, Logan, Maria, and Quentin in this pool session listed so far. So I'd love to hear from you all. What do you think?
I know for Caleb and I, we're not available. Like if it was going to be next Sunday, we're at camp on the 25th, and then I'm on call
No,
that
no,
first
no,
weekend.
no. Let me just clarify. If it's not this Sunday, the 18th, And I think you were talking about the following Sunday. It's not going to be the following Sunday either. So it would have to be in March. FAMU is closed through the whole month of February. They just told me today.
Okay, so the next one you had was on the 16th.
Yes,
We're
March.
actually gone that weekend, so that Sunday or Saturday, that
And the
weekend
11th.
wouldn't work for us.
Basketball's on the 11th.
That's on a Monday.
Right.
Okay, so we could find a second date in March. You can see we already have 4 things in March, but we could find a second date in March, or we could wait until April. It's up to you. Let me hear from some others. Annika.
My only concern is that I have to be certified by May or kind of early May. So if we
Oh yeah,
could fit
that
something
won't be a
in,
problem. Can you make the
Okay.
March date?
I could, yeah.
Okay, then you're
Were
good.
you saying that date is the $150 though?
No, I'm saying
Okay, sorry, I
that-
misheard.
I'm saying that if we have the session as planned this Sunday, then I need to find another pool. And
Okay.
one other option right now, which I don't think is a great option, based on cost, everything but the cost is a pretty good idea, but that would be the Thomasville YMCA, and they charge a lot more. So a private pool would be our best bet. I'm not saying that a private pool is out of the question, because I do have friends with pools and I could reach out to them, but I want to get kind of a feel of what does everyone think? We do have a cold front coming through this weekend. And it's going to be in the 70s for a couple days, and then it's going to drop to the 60s on Saturday and possible rain. So for those of you diving on Saturday the 17th, that's a possible concern. Weather could change though, predictions change. Sunday, the high is going to be in the 50s. So we're going to be cold. So we need a very nicely heated pool, and when we get out, we're going to be cold, but that I can live with if you want to live with it. So I just wanted to kind of get a vibe from everybody. Like, would you rather really go through with it as planned? Do you have any concerns about postponing it? So far, we have one person who needs to be certified by May. That's not a problem. In fact, if you make the March session, you could actually be easily certified by March, because we have checkout dives planned. We have a lot of checkout dives planned in March. So
if we were to reschedule in March for another day, when would that be?
So rescheduling in March would not be ideal, because we already have 4 things in March, including a pool session on March 16th. Maria, can you make the 16th?
Yeah, I think I should be able to.
Okay. So the next session after that would probably be in April.
Okay, so yeah, if you could move into the 16th one.
Okay. And let me check in with everybody else. Is Quentin here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, 16th or the 18th of this month.
Can
Either of
you
those
do the
dates will work.
16th? Okay, you could do the 16th of March though?
Yeah.
All right. What about Kenley? Is Kenley here? Maybe not. Okay. Well, it sounds to me like for those of you who are we're planning on being there Sunday, if we don't find a heated pool that's private, that's reasonably, here's my thought. If we can find a private pool, let's chip in and pay somebody to crank the heat up in the pool, and it'll still be like the cost of the FAMU pool. And if not, then we could roll people into the March or April. We'll do another session in April. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I think for us, like, if we can do it this weekend possible, like that would be ideal for us, just with
Okay.
being out of town, and then finish, like, because we both finished school in April, and then like we're moving up to Michigan for residency is where I got placed. So like we like kind of trying to figure all that stuff around end of April, early May. And so
Okay.
it'll make our timeline a little tighter on then, but I mean, if we have to make it happen in April, we could, but.
Okay, so let me see what I can do to find a private pool on Sunday. So
Okay.
everybody just, keep your eye on the email. Feel free to text me. Tomorrow I will make a lot of effort to find a private pool that again, we'll just chip in the same amount we would for FAMU and give it to the person to crank up their heater. Okay.
That works with me. Whatever
Okay.
you're able to do. And if you're not, just let us know too.
Okay,
I'll keep you
I'm pretty sure I can. I have a few friends with heated pools, but I know in the past, at least with one, that I've had to pay him but it's more than worth it when it's cold outside to pay someone to crank the heat up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
And
we will.
Caleb and I will join Sunday if you're able to. If not,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
figure it out.
Great. Perfect. Okay. So, and then for those of you planning to dive on Saturday, the 17th, I have Marika, Sophie, Clay, Joey, Vincent, and possibly Julie. I am keeping an eye on the weather, and it will be warmer that day. And in terms of the cold front is not going to have come through yet. So the air temperature will be okay. I'm just watching because the forecast right now is calling for rain. We do dive in the rain, but I'll tell you, when we go to a dive site that has a paddle involved, it's not pleasant to paddle back in the rain. You're really cold, you know, and it's a 1.2 mile paddle back. So I'll just keep an eye on the weather. So many times the predictions are off and the system stalls and that kind of thing. So, but just reach out to me. Okay. The nice thing about Big Blue is we can always schedule those again any other time because it's local, it's easy. We can be in and out, you know, in just a few hours, we can do our diving there. So, all right. Our next, online session is 2 weeks from tonight, and that will be exam review. So after tonight's session, I will email the exam to everyone. It will be open book and you can work on the exam. We do have some additional checkout dives planned, and don't worry, we'll be adding more as well. Did someone type something in the chat box? Let's see here. I have to move the window here. Uh-oh. Okay. All right, Maria, just keep in touch. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. And the answer is yes to your question. Okay. Yeah, we have room in the March session. All right, let's move on then. Let's go through, everyone, if you would please turn your cameras on. We're going to go through some hand signals review, and before we get started here on some of the heavy content. So, okay underwater, do you remember how to do that? Good. Okay on the surface? And you can do a fist on the top of the head or ballerina style. Ear problems, point to your ear, wiggle your hand. Hold this depth, 1 hand or 2. I normally do 2, but yep. Buddy up. Low on air. Again, this is not anything we ever see people do, except for at the Georgia Aquarium. It's the only place we've ever seen it. That's the fist to the chest. Out of air. Upper ascend. Doesn't mean cool. What's cool, guys? Yes, we do. They hang 10 sign whenever we see something cool. We were doing a lot of this over the weekend. Right, Sarah? All right. Let's see. We have down or descend. We do this before every dive. Help at the surface, wave. Marine life. Let's go through some. We saw a lot of these over the weekend. Shark. That was fun. That was fun seeing sharks. Turtle. Oh, sorry, that's lionfish. That's lionfish. Lionfish, guys, that's lionfish. Turtle. Eel. Let's see. What else? What else, Ronnie? What am I forgetting? Well, that's good for now. All right. We'll come up with more later. Gauge pressure. Okay. All right, let me go over the swimming requirements. Those of you who attended the last pool session did great with this. If you have not had your pool session yet, please practice your exit requirements so that we can knock these skills out. You get them done the first time. It'll make you feel good and confident and not wear yourself out. We always start with the underwater swim first. The standards say without a push-off. I was allowed a push-off, therefore I allow my students to have a push-off. Practice your push-off. It will give you 10 extra feet without trying. Most of the time, it's mind over body when it comes to the swim. So it really is about having the ability to understand that you always have more air in your lungs than you think, and don't give up too fast, okay? doing a breaststroke with your arms and a frog kick with your legs really helps. So after the underwater swim, we do the distance swim that is not timed. You can do any stroke you want. Just have to keep swimming. And then we do the 15-minute tread water survival floating. Handling your gear. We'll talk a little bit about basic care of gear, and we did a little bit of this last time. But by the pool side, we do more of this, and a buddy check is really important. A common problem is that people don't put the strap on correctly and tight, so we always lift it by the strap when we set up our gear. Let's move right on into dive table planning, including decompression theory and dive tables. Okay, we're going to talk about reducing risks for decompression sickness. The slang term is the bends. I never use the slang term decompression sickness. And we'll talk about nitrogen saturation dive tables and dive computers. So definitions and rules, those of you who like to follow along in your workbooks, if you look at your classroom notes workbook, page 15, you'll see these. Bottom time starts at the surface and ends at the safety stop. Required decompression diving is too deep and too long. Recreational diving is no required stops diving. That doesn't mean we're not doing a safety stop. It means we're not doing a decompression stop. SEI diving limits, we did a little bit of this last time, but 50 feet for 80 minutes, 80 feet for 32, and 100 feet for 18. Whenever you're in between on time or depth, you always round up. We are extra, extra safe. Safety is the utmost of concern. Your ascent rate should be no faster than 30 feet per minute. How fast is that? It's super slow, like really slow. So how slow is it? It's like hand over, if you had a rope, it would be hand over hand, really slow. The first couple times when you're with us in the swimming pool and in your open water dives, we just encourage you to come up with us so that you'll know how slow to go. For high altitude diving, you're going to further reduce your times and depths to be even more conservative. For flying after diving, those of you who like to go on trips, I do. I love to go on trips and go scuba diving where I get to fly. You can hop off the plane and immediately go diving, but on your last day on your trip, you're going to want to wait 12 to 24 hours, depending on what kind of diving you've done, to fly again. Residual nitrogen time is time against the next dive. So residual nitrogen time, RNT, or DET time, is time against the next dive. It's basically a penalty. Total dive time is residual nitrogen time plus the next dive time. Safety stop should end all dives at 3 minutes at 15 feet deep. So that being said, if you have a dive that's less than 1 atmosphere below the surface, let's say you have a really nice shallow dive, like we had 2 dives this weekend that were shallow dives. The max depth was 20 feet at the Blue Heron Bridge. Do you need to do a safety stop if you do a 20-foot dive? The answer is no, you do not. So you can do one, but there's really no need to do one. How deep is 1 atmosphere absolute, by the way, guys? Anyone remember? Yeah, good job, Logan. All right, so it's 33 feet in saltwater, 34 in freshwater. Repetitive dives account for previous dives that day. It's typically within 12 hours. Here comes the fun stuff. We're going to look at our dive tables. And we're going to keep in mind that table A is single dive time and group letter. If you're just doing 1 dive, this is super easy. Table B is surface interval credit. This is basically credit you get for planning your dives and spending time on the surface between your dives. Table C is probably the most complicated table. It's your residual nitrogen time and your next dive time. So when you do any more than 1 dive, you're going to be going to this table, and the top number is going to be residual nitrogen time. The bottom number is going to be bottom time. And then when you flip it over, table D is decompression diving, or as I like to say, table D is for dummies, because we don't do decompression diving when we do recreational diving. So this is if you've messed up. There is something to help you, okay? So let's go through a couple of problems together. Problem A. And problem A says a diver goes to 60 feet for 40 minutes. So I want you to follow along with me as I show you 60 feet. So we're going to follow this column down to where we see 60. And then we're going to find 40 minutes. And we go over and we don't see a 40. So what do we round up to?
45.
Very good, 45. And so then we follow that down, and what letter are we now? We're H.
H.
Good. Now we stay out for 1 hour, and some people get a little confused by this table, so let me just explain it to you. Each box represents a range of numbers, the lowest one being the minimum amount of time, the top box being the maximum amount of time. So where does the 1 hour fall between? You see it?
The G.
Yes. Very good. So then you follow that over and you're a G diver. And now the second part of the problem says that you are out for 1 hour and you then want to go to 50 feet. How long can you stay? So you see, we went over to the 50 on table C, which in this case is on the top. The depths are on the top on this table rather than on the side as in table A. And we follow that straight down and we find where the G and the 50 intersect. And we see a 49 on the top and a 31 on the bottom. Now, what did I say the top number is? Residual nitrogen time. And the bottom number is bottom time. So the question asks, how long can you stay? So which one is the correct answer?
31.
Correct. The bottom number. Very good. And so when you chart it out on a table, it looks like this. You're going to see a question that looks like this: 60 for 40, 1 hour surface interval. With second dive, we want to go to 50. How long can we stay? So we put our letters in. We always start as an A diver. Anytime we start diving for the day, we start as an A diver, meaning we have no residual nitrogen time. 60 for 40 made us an H diver. We stay out for 1 hour. We lost another letter. We're a G diver. We want to go 50 for how long? We figure that out. We get 31, and then we take the 49 and we take the 49, the residual nitrogen time, from the 80, by the way, and we get 31. Now, what am I telling you there? If you follow the 50, you follow the 50 feet over, what's the furthest number? 80, right? On table A? Yes. So that's where the number is coming from. So if you follow the 50 over to the end is 80. So if you take 80 minus the residual nitrogen time of 49, you get 31. Okay, just so you know where it comes from. When you have it on paper on your exam, this is what it's going to look like. And so the letters are going to go here. The repetitive group letters are going to go in the circles. SIT means surface interval time. You're going to put your time and depth here, your residual nitrogen time, your actual bottom time, and your total bottom time throughout. Okay. All right. Let's give you a problem and see how you do. All right. Let's go with this one. First dive, 71 feet for 20 minutes. We have a 2 hour, 30-minute surface interval. Second dive, we want to go to 38 feet. How long can we stay? Once you have the correct answer, go ahead and type "got it" or done or whatever in the chat box. Don't put the actual number in one. Then I'll do a reveal. I love it. Everyone's like, got it? Question mark. Like, I got it, but I'm not really confident in my answer, maybe. We'll see. Okay. Anyone not have it? Brittany, you got it? Okay. Quentin, Sophie, there we go. Does anyone not have it? All right. Thank you. Everyone has it now, right? All right. Unmute yourself and tell me what the correct answer is. Come on, unmute yourself and tell me what the correct answer is.
Like, do you want like box by box or
No,
like the
first
max?
first tell me the correct answer and then I'll have you do box by box.
I don't know if it's the correct answer.
What do you think? What did you get?
I got 17, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got 106.
Yeah, 106.
Oh,
All right. Some of you got it. 106.
Yeah. All right.
yeah, okay. I'm well.
All right. So I love peer teaching. So who got 106? That Logan. Okay. Why don't you go ahead and walk us through? What did you do?
Okay. So we went to a depth of 71, which we round up to 80. So if we go on 80 on table A and go over for 20 minutes, there's a good box for 20, and that puts you at an E diver. And then you sit for the 2 hours and 30 minutes. So looking in that E column, 2 hours and 30 minutes is in line with the third row, which is a C diver now. And then a depth of 38 as a C diver rounds up to a depth of 40. So it's that second column from the left. And so following that column down to a C diver, the third row, it would put you at 29 for your nitrogen, residual nitrogen time, and then 106 for your max depth.
Very good. All right. Those of you who did not get it, do you understand? Nicole, I know you joined us late. You said you're lost. Did his explanation help at all, or do you want me to pull up the table?
Can you pull up the table again? I'm sorry.
That's okay. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to pull up the table and I am going to ask somebody to call it out to me. Give me just a second here. I gotta do a share. All right, now let me get my annotation tool. Everyone can see it?
Yes.
Okay, so what was the problem again?
You dive to 71 feet
Right,
depth
so 71, we round up to 80. You see that, Nicole?
Yes.
and you're there for 20 minutes.
20 minutes, we go over to 20. We actually do have a 20. So that makes us an E diver. And how long are we out?
2 hours and 30.
2 hours and 30, which falls between 145 and 239, right? That makes us a C diver.
Okay.
Okay. And then the question was, we want to go to a depth of what?
38.
38. So we round up to 40. And we follow it down to where the C is. And there we have it. We have 29 and 106. Does that help, Nicole?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Sure. Does that make sense to everybody? Does anyone not understand it? Okay, good. All right, so let me go ahead and go back to my PowerPoint and I'll give you another problem before we get into the complicated problems. All right. Scheiße. Excuse me. Excuse my German. I apologize. I lived in Germany in my formative years. I learned all the bad stuff. Okay.
Long as you don't call us Scheiß Kumpf.
No, I wouldn't do that. I know what that means, and I would not do that. It's just something that happens. It just comes out of my mouth. It's weird because I don't really cuss in English. So, okay. So, all right, problem D. So we have first dive, 40 feet for 1 hour. Surface interval, 50 minutes, 50 minutes. Second dive, we want to go to 80 feet. How long can we stay? Go ahead and figure that out. Same deal, type got it when you have it in the chat box. And don't worry if you have a unusual number here. This you might just be getting it right if you have something unusual. Okay. So again, type got it when you have it. Ooh, people are fast now. Yeah, and I agree. Logan did a great job explaining it. Lots of people getting it fast this time. I like it. I know Marika knows what I mean when I say that. Scheiße.
Can I ask a question about the previous one?
Can you
When
hold
we're
on
done?
that question? Because I hate for us to interrupt our train of thought right now.
Yep.
Thanks. Nicole, do you have it?
I think so.
Okay.
Would it be 3?
Oh, okay. I wasn't going to have you give the answer, but
Oh,
okay. That's
sorry.
okay. I just didn't see in the chat box that you had typed got it. All right. So, so does everyone have 3 by any chance? Does anybody not have 3? Anyone, be honest. Does anyone not have 3? Everyone has 3? Good job. Good job. Now 3 would be a terrible dive, wouldn't it? Can you imagine doing a 3-minute dive at 80 feet? That would be awful.
Maybe you have like a cool view on the descent.
That's true. Hey, anytime underwater is better than no time. So yeah, so if you followed along, who said 3? That who was the person who revealed the 3?
Me.
Okay, go ahead and tell us what you did to get your 3.
So it started at 40 feet.
Okay.
Oh, actually I went to 80 feet. That's why. I found my mistake.
No, you didn't
I
have.
looked at 80 or 40.
No,
I
you
don't know.
did. You did it right. 40 feet for 1 hour.
And
Make
then
better.
it's telling us to go to 50 minutes, right? Or no, 60. So I went to 63.
Okay, hang on a second. Slow down. So 40 feet for 1 hour makes you what letter?
G.
Correct. And then you were out for 50 minutes, which makes you what letter?
G.
Correct. Now, you find where the G and the 80 intersect on table C, right?
Yes.
And the top number was what?
29.
Which was your residual nitrogen time. And the bottom number was?
3.
Very good. Now, 3 minutes would not be an ideal dive, but what could you do to make it better, Nicole? If you were planning your dive, what would be some smart things to do with this dive?
Probably do it at lesser minutes.
You mean the
do
first
it
dive less?
Like go for 55 minutes, probably 55 instead of 80.
Oh, you're
minutes?
talking about depth,
Oh,
not minutes.
the depth. Yes, I'm sorry.
You're right about that. Depth would be a good thing. Matter of fact, if you reversed it and did 80 first, which we'll get into later, that would be a better choice. Typically, doing a deeper dive first is going to be a better choice.
Okay.
So Josh says this is a standard dive to recover your iPhone. Hey, I'm guessing you know from experience. But anyway, yeah, some other choices might be extending your surface interval time. So if you did a 2-hour surface interval time, that would give you residual nitrogen time of 22 and 10-minute dive. It's still not great, right? You could reduce the time of your first dive, but ideally you would reverse the depths. All right, get your brains ready. Now we're going to do the serious stuff. Ready? We're going to do a 3-dive problem. And first I'm going to do one for you, and then you're going to do your own. Okay. So ready? All right. Get your brains ready. This is tough. I'm just going to forewarn you. Okay. Here's our problem. Honestly, we do a lot of 3 dives. So when we do shark diving, we do 3 dives. It's fun to do 3 dives. So our first dive is 60 feet for 20 minutes. We have a surface interval of 1 hour. Second dive, 50 feet for 20 minutes. Surface interval of 1 hour. Third dive, we want to go to 40 feet. How long can we stay? Now, let me just tell you that it is pretty common on most boat dives to have a 1 hour surface interval. That is very normal to do that. Okay. Now you don't have to, I can see Logan's already working. He's on the ball here. I'm going to actually walk you through this one. So I want you to really look at the screen as I walk you through this. So we always start as what letter?
A.
Very good. So we start as an A, and we are going to find where the 60 feet is and go on over to 20. And what letter does that make us?
D.
And we're going to stay out for 1 hour. And this is just a little heads up. Anytime you stay out for an hour, you're always going to drop 1 full letter. So we're going to go from a D to a C. Good. Now, the next part of the problem asks us, we want to go to 50 feet for 20 minutes. So first, we're just going to look at the 50. So we're going to find where the C and the 50 intersect. Okay. And when we see what the 50 and the C intersect, what do we see for the top number?
23.
23. So we're going to then take the 23 residual nitrogen time, and we're going to add it to the actual bottom time of our second dive. Okay. And that's going to give us 43. So again, we're taking the actual bottom time, 20 of our second dive, adding it to the residual nitrogen time, 23, and we're getting 43. Now here's where it gets a little complicated. We then go back up to table A, same depth for the second dive, new number. So we've added our penalty. So we have 50 feet, and we're going to do for 43 minutes. So again, we go back up to table A, 50 for 43. What letter are we?
G.
Correct. We're a G diver, and we sit out for 1 hour. So now what letter are we?
F.
Correct. F. And our third dive, we want to go to 40 feet. So now we find where the 40 and the F intersect. Find where the 40 and the F intersect. We see a top number of 55 and a bottom number of 80. So the question asked us, how long can we stay? So the answer is
80.
correct. And what would we do with this if we wanted to do a fourth dive? What would we do?
Add the
55 to the 80.
Correct. That's exactly what we would do. We would add the 55 to the 80, and we would get 135, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so then we would go back up to table A, and we would find 40 to 135, and we'd be at the end of the spectrum, right? We would be an M, and we would be good. Make sense? That's all there is to it. So this is what it looks like charted out. Again, we were an A diver, and then we were a, is this the same? Wait, same one. Yes, it is. Sorry, I started to doubt myself for a minute. We're a D diver, and then we stayed out. We were a C diver. We had an RNT of 23. We added that to 20, where it was 43. And so then we did 50 for 43, and we got a G diver. We stayed out for 1 hour, making us an F diver. And then we did our third dive to 40 feet and we found where the F and the 40 intersected. We had an RNT of 55 and maximum bottom time of 80. So there you go. Whoops, sorry. There you go. That's the question. Okay, so let me find a 3-dive problem for you to do. Hang on a second. No, let's see here. I'm gonna pull one up. Okay. Let's see. All right. Here we go. Your turn. First dive, 100 for 10 minutes. Surface interval, 30 minutes. Second dive, 50 feet for 30 minutes. Surface interval, 1 hour. Third dive, we want to go to 40 feet. How long can we stay? Do not forget, let me just remind everybody, do not forget to add the residual nitrogen time on your second dive to your actual bottom time of your second dive. Go back up to table A, same depth for your second dive, new number, and continue the problem. Okay? Oh, I totally forgot. Someone had a question about can you hold your question until after this one? I forgot. Just remind me at the end of it. My brain is tired. Thank you.
Wait, so all of this we would plan it before we actually go underwater, or we would record that like once we're actually like diving?
We always plan ahead. We plan our dive and we dive our plan.
Okay.
Can you repeat add the residual?
Yeah, so basically the first dive is easy, right? 100 for 10. You're gonna then find what letter you are, surface interval, go over. Then it gets a little more complicated. You're gonna find where the 50 and where you went over that letter intersect. You're gonna grab the top number, which is your residual nitrogen time, add it to the actual bottom time of the second dive. So the second dive is where things start to get a little complicated. You add the residual nitrogen time to the actual bottom time of the second dive. And that's going to give you a new number, which we call total bottom time. So your new number, you take 50 for that new number, go back up to table A, 50 for the new number, and then you continue the problem just as you did. Okay?
Okay.
Good. A few of you are getting it. Okay, good. Everyone else, let's try to wrap up. Does anyone not have it? I don't see that everyone's typed they have it yet. Okay, good. Anyone not have it? Speak up now, please, if you don't yet have it. Last call. Everyone has it? Okay, so the first person who typed I got it in there, what did you get? And who is Kasharow? Who's that?
That's me, Kyle.
Kyle, okay. So Kyle, what answer did you get?
I got 61 minutes max as an H diver.
Awesome. So what I want you to do, did everybody else get that?
Yes.
Everybody get it? Yes? Did anyone not get that? Speak up, please. Sophie got it? Okay, Montagues did not get it. What did you get? Okay, Nicole didn't get it.
I had 63, I think.
Okay, one thing you want to do is make sure your fingers are, it's really hard to make sure, it's easy to get off of a line. So using a straight edge or something. See, Jonathan said I was down one in the column. It's a common mistake. And so really make sure you check that you're going straight across. Okay, so I'll tell you what, Kyle, go ahead and walk us through it. And then if everyone understands, I won't do the visual, but otherwise I will. So walk us through it.
Okay, I'll do my best. So for the 100 feet on table A, with the 10 minutes down, that rounds up to 12, making you a D diver. At 30 minutes is between the 52 and the 10, so there's no change. You're still a D diver. Dragging that over to the depth of 50 feet. That lines up with the bold number being a 29 residual nitrogen. So I'm adding that to the dive time of the 30 minutes of 50 feet, getting a 59 minutes at 50 feet. So again, as dragging that across, that gets you to the rounds up to 63. Dragging that down, that makes you an I diver. An hour surface time brings you back up to being an H diver. And then an H at 40 feet, lining that up is the second column from the right where the bold is 71 and the low number dive time is 61 minutes max as an H diver.
Excellent description. For those of you who didn't get it, Julie, Nicole, I know Jonathan understands now, the Montagues, does everyone understand now? Or do you want me to go through it with the visual?
Can you go through it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes, please.
So I'm going to do that. Let's see. Let me erase here. Just a minute. Okay, give me a second. I'm trying to find my eraser on my tool before I go back to the table. I'll just try closing it and starting it again. All right. Okay. All right, can everybody see that? So if somebody will talk through it, the problem, I'll visualize it as we go along. So actually, Kyle, do you want to do it again? And I'll circle along as we go.
Sure. So the first dive was 100 feet at 10 minutes, which rounds up to 12 in that column, that making you a D diver. Then your surface time is 30 minutes, which is your lowest option on that column. You don't change, you're still a D diver. At dragging that across to 50 feet, where those two line up, the bold number is 29, which is your residual nitrous time. You're going to add that to your next dive time, which you had marked as 30 minutes. So 30 minutes plus 29 is 59 minutes. So you're going to go to 50 feet and slide across for 59 minutes, which rounds up to 63. That drags down to being an I diver. You're on the surface for 60 minutes, so you recover one letter, making you an H diver. And then H lining up with 40 minutes from the top becomes the second from the left. And then there you have it. You're at 61 minutes bottom time.
Excellent. Did that help? Seeing it that way?
Thank you so much.
Does that make sense, Nicole? Okay. Sophie, Julie? Yeah?
I have a question.
Sure.
That 61 minutes, is that, I hope I don't sound stupid here, but does that split between all 3 dives?
Yeah, that's your maximum bottom time for your third dive.
Oh, for the 3rd dive. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? There are no dumb questions. Okay. So that helped, right? Okay. So, Brittany, you had a question about a previous question? Was it Brittany who had the question?
Yeah, but I was just looking at a wrong number and I figured it out. So we're all good. We're okay.
All right. Anyone else have questions about this? I encourage you to practice 3 dive problems. I want to go ahead and move forward at this point, and then we will come back to 3 dive problems if we still feel like we're fuzzy on it, but we do have a lot to cover tonight. So I wanted to kind of move forward if that's all right with you. Okay, so let's do this. I gotta resize this thing again. All right. Okay. So just ignore the part that says reverse profile dives. I kind of alluded to this before, but what I want you to do is we're going to just go back to the 2 dive problem, this super simple 2 dive problem. Only figure the first part that's above the line. Okay. So the problem is first dive 80 feet for 20 minutes, surface interval 15 minutes. Second dive, we want to go to 40 feet. How long can we stay? So everyone go ahead and tell me once you have that. Just say in the chat box, I got it. It shouldn't take long at all. This is a simple 2 dive problem. All right. Does everybody have it? Does anyone not have it? Unmute yourselves and tell me what you got.
90 minutes.
98 minutes.
Did everyone have 90? I didn't hear 98, I hope, right? Everyone said 90? Did anyone have anything different than 90? Okay, good job. It is 90. Now, we're going to do the second part of the problem. First dive 40 feet for 45 minutes. Surface interval 15 minutes. Second dive 80 feet. How long can we stay? Right, got some fast solvers here. Awesome. Does anyone not have it? All right, go ahead and unmute yourselves and tell me the answer.
7 minutes.
7.
7.
Awesome.
7.
Yay. So you see the difference of these two options is that the first problem, you did your deeper dive first. You did 80 feet and then you did 40 feet. The second one, you did 40 feet and then you did 80. And so this is something to keep in mind, that whenever possible, we try to do our deepest dive first. It impacts your residual nitrogen time. Okay, the next one we're going to do is find the surface interval problem. This is a little more complicated, so let me just, it's not as hard, it's just a little more complicated. So you're going to take one finger and put it on table A, and you're going to find 80 for 30. And you're going to take the other finger and you're going to go to table C, and you're going to find 80 for 20. Now, as you're on table C finding 80 for 20, what number are you looking at, the top or the bottom number? Bottom time, bottom number, right? And don't forget to round up. So again,
22.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. So now listen, once you find those numbers, what you're going to do is take your two fingers, one that's on table A, one that's on table C, and you're going to bring them together on table B, and that's going to give you your answer. It's going to give you the range of surface interval, and the problem is asking you how long does your surface interval need to be. You're going to give the bottom of the two numbers, which is your minimum surface interval. Let me know when you think you have it. All right, Brittany. Kyle. Nicole, maybe. Sophie. Christy, Caleb, Josh, Jonathan, Quentin. All right. 30 more seconds for everybody else. 30 more seconds. Okay, Julie, Sean, Annika. All right, unmute yourselves and tell me what you think is the correct answer.
5 hours and 17 minutes.
Good job. Good job. Did everyone get that? Did anyone not get it? Be honest if you didn't get it. Did anyone not get it?
I did not get that.
Okay, who's speaking? I can't see you.
Sorry, it's Sophie. I had to turn my camera off for a second.
Oh, that's okay. No, and I can't see all the people's at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to bring back up that table and walk you through it. Hang on just a second.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. Okay, I don't have the problem in front of me, so I'm going to ask somebody to to read the problem for me, and I'm going to show you how to solve it here. So Brittany, I think you were the first one.
80
Who was the first
minutes,
one? Go
or
ahead.
80. Yep,
Say that again.
80 feet at 30 minutes.
80 for 30 makes
Yep.
us
An H.
an H diver. And then
then
what's the second one?
80 feet for 20 minutes.
80 for 20. And like you said, it's 22 because we're always rounding up.
Nope, it's higher.
What's that?
It's bottom number.
Oh, okay. Wait a second. Let's see here. What did I do? Did I go off a line or something?
Nope, just go up 3 boxes. There you go.
Hang on. I'm getting tired. I can't undo it. I can't undo it. All right. Hang on a second. 80. Yeah. There it goes. Okay. Hang on. Okay. I can erase. All right. Let me try to get my brain back. I don't want my signature. Here we go. Draw. Okay. 80 for the top number, 20.
Nope, bottom number 20. Yep, that one right there. Yep. Which makes us a B. And they intersect at the 517.
Yeah. So this is the bottom number right here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Everyone understand that? Okay. All right, next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna share again. Okay. Not that, okay. All right, your turn to do another one. This time everyone's gonna get it. I'm confident everyone's gonna get it. Okay, including me, because my brain is tired too. So first dive 70 for 35, second dive 50 for 50. What's our minimum surface interval requirement? And by the way, this is not that uncommon of a thing to do. We have 2 dive sites we want to go to, and we want to figure out what is our minimum surface interval requirement. Once you have it, go ahead and type in the chat box. Okay, 5 more seconds. Does anyone not have it? Unmute yourselves and tell me the correct answer.
3 hours and 30 minutes.
3.5 hours.
Did everyone have that?
Yeah.
Anyone not have it? Okay, good job. I'm going to skip over another problem then, and we're going to move on to the next kind of more complicated one. All right, follow along with me. First dive, 60 feet for 70 minutes. Everyone look at your dive table, 60 feet for 70 minutes. What do you see?
It doesn't.
No answer.
It doesn't go.
What do we need to do? We need to go to table D for dummies. right? Because the maximum we were supposed to stay was 51 and we way exceeded. So we actually have to flip our dive table over. And it's going to show us, and I'll show you how this happens. With a decompression stop, we stop at 20 feet instead of at 15 feet for a safety stop. And how do we get the 14? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at table D and we're going to find where the 60 is. And there's a lot of extra numbers on there that you don't necessarily need to pay attention to. And then you're going to follow it over based on that 70. And you're going to see that the number is 14. Does everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Everyone sees it and understands it? So I'm going to give you another decompression problem then.
Wait. So
Don't understand it?
it was at 60 feet, bottom time for 70, and then your decompression stop at 20 feet for 14 minutes is what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Your turn. 80 for 50.
80, 50, 24.
Oh, you're fast.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Does everyone see 24? Does everybody see 24? Does anyone not see 24? Talk to me, people.
See.
Okay.
Got it.
All right.
And so that's the 24, you have to wait 24 minutes?
Yeah.
at
You'd have
20
to
feet?
sit
Okay.
there. Listen, this is really bad if this
Yeah.
happens. So if you're an air hog and you don't have a lot of air left, if you have to sit there for 24 minutes, you might not have enough air to do that. I've actually had to save people who did this. And that's why I say table D is for dummies. And so you can't just change out a cylinder underwater. You have to bring them a whole new setup. And I have had to do that for people before. So don't do this. Don't mess up like this. Okay. So I'm going to give you one more problem. And this time, just everyone quietly think that you have it, and then we'll go through it together. So the plan was to go 80 for 25, but we saw a whale shark and we were so in awe of this whale shark that we followed it and did not realize that we actually got to 110 feet. Okay. Following the whale shark. So right now, everybody, go ahead and look at table D, and without saying the answer, just go ahead and type got it when you see how long you need to stay at 20 feet for decompression stop. Ooh, fast, fast, fast. I love it. All right. Unmute yourselves and tell me the answer.
Fourteen.
14.
Did everyone have 14?
14 minutes.
Did anyone not have 14? Awesome. All right. So that's dive tables in a nutshell. We can do more problems later, but table A basically is your single dive. Table B is your surface interval credits. Table C is your next dive, which could be your second dive or whatever other dive. And then table D is decompression. Table D is for dummies. Okay. So that's dive tables. Let's talk a little bit about other things to keep in mind. Anytime you have really cold or strenuous diving, you're going to round up to the next greatest time. In other words, you're going to be more conservative. If you ascend too quickly, you're going to extend your safety stop by 2 minutes. Those of you who end up having computers at some point in your diving career, your computers will often scream at you. If you go too fast, you'll hear them beeping and stuff. Then you just need to hang out at your safety stop for 2 extra minutes to try to help. If you needed to do decompression, like that problem where it was 24 minutes, but you didn't have enough air, you are not allowed to dive again. You have to stay out of the water for 24 hours and you should breathe pure oxygen at the surface. Always have contingency plans. Think about, surface down current. You can't reach the exit, whatever. always have contingency plans. We had some contingency plans this weekend, unplanned things. And, you know, sometimes they happen. And so it's how you deal with the challenges that matters. Everything is a learning experience. No matter how experienced of a diver you are, you're always learning, always. If you're going to be a safe diver, you're always learning. You're always willing to learn more and get better. Okay. Now, the next thing where I'm going to talk a little bit about is dive computers, but I don't want to talk too much about it because we do not encourage you to use computers until you fully understand dive tables and have some dive experience under your belt with planning dive tables. I, to this day, have dive tables and dive computers. So, but just to kind of let you know that a dive computer is going to be less conservative than a dive table, no matter what. It's always going to be less conservative because the dive computer will actually go, wait a second, you weren't at 60 feet the whole time. You were only at 60 feet for a few minutes, and it'll calculate, you know, your nitrogen load based on what depth you actually are. And when we're doing dive tables, we're being so conservative. We're saying you're at 60 feet the entire time, even though we didn't take into account that you were maybe at 30 feet for a long time. Okay. So there are different types of computers, and they include standard, advanced, air integrated, and hoseless. And my personal preference, I like air integrated. That's what I like, but some people like to have a watch. I do wear an Apple Watch as well. So I have an extra dive computer in my Apple Watch, which is pretty cool. Standard computers have a lot of features on them, including depth, no decompression time, max depth, bottom time, ascent rate, logbook memory, pre-dive planning, and nitrox. Most computers now have simulators, and they synchronize, and they have bookmarking and that kind of thing. Air integrated are a little more accurate than pressure. They're more accurate than analog gauges. And it also calculates air time remaining. Hoseless computers, I think it's a great idea, but there's a transmitter, and so there's always a little more. Anytime you have extra pieces of equipment, there may be more things to consider. Anytime you have a computer, you should always have a dive table or a backup so that you have options in case your computer fails. So, and you need to know your tables, because I've been diving with people who didn't know their tables and their computer failed, and or their computer messed up and told them something that was wrong, and they trusted the computer. So, sometimes when you go to a resort and you rent, they will make you rent a computer, just to let you know. There are typically two kinds. One is manually activated, where you press a button, but another one is water activated. So if they ever rent you a computer and you're like, but it's not turning on, they may tell you that it's water activated. I don't really like these kinds because they I'm sorry, the screen is not doing what it's supposed to do with the share. There we go. But they, in my opinion, are not super safe, because you think it's not working and it doesn't go into dive mode until you get to 5 feet deep. So if it is a malfunctioning one, you think, oh, well, I'm already in the water now and it's actually really not working. So anyway, dive mode display gives you remaining air time, dive time, current depth, max depth, and lots of other things, including no decompression time and your pressure that's in the cylinder. It'll also show you how going deeper has an immediate impact on your air time. And so it'll show you those kind of things, which are pretty cool. And it'll also decreases the allowable no decompression time. I mentioned the ascent rate. I do think this is a nice feature of computers. Those of us who dive a lot and are super safe don't ever have to worry about the ascent rate bar graph. But, you know, if you're a newer diver and you haven't gotten really good at this, it's kind of nice to show you that you're ascending too quickly. No matter what, please read the manual before diving. I see people all the time buy brand new computers and they don't look at the manual. You can always find your manual online. Don't just come diving and go, I just got this new computer and I don't know how to use it. Anyone know how to use it? Don't do that. Don't be that person. Okay. So that's module 6. Dive planning, we talked about reducing risk for decompression, sickness, nitrogen saturation, dive tables, and dive computers. we are always erring on the side of diving safely and conservatively, and don't get bent. In other words, don't get decompression sickness. Okay. Any questions about that? All right, awesome. That was the heaviest brain work. Ronnie gets the fun part, I think, right?
Yeah, for the most part. Might be some legal stuff at the end, maybe, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty fun.
It is fun. Thanks.
Yeah, let me just resize something. Okay. All right, so I've got module 7, which is diving opportunities, continue education, local diving, dive travel, destinations, leadership opportunities, career opportunities, and then course review and exam preparation. So looking at the scuba educator courses, you guys are starting right here as open water divers. Typically what we have people go to next is a combination course of advanced and open and nitrox diving. So we make a combination course of advanced and nitrox, which is in the specialty course right here. And then technically there's a final category of master divers for recreational divers. However, what we typically recommend for people is to actually go ahead and get, like we said, the nitrox, search and recovery, and first aid certification. So that way you can become a dive master, which is what Atticus and Sarah are working on right now. And we've got a bunch of other already certified dive masters that you guys will probably meet as well.
And Josh is working on it too. He just hasn't been with us yet on any of the, because he's in medical leave. So.
Oh, awesome. Great.
Yeah.
So like I said, this side is the educational side. So it starts with dive master. That's the first step. Next step is assistant instructor. Then you have instructor, which is where I am. Then you can become an instructor trainer to train instructors. And then there's course director, which is what Gabrielle is. And then in the center, we have our specialty diving. We teach many of these classes, but not all of them, like the ice diver class. We don't teach, we don't like cold water. So you can go to somewhere up north and exciting for that. And then dry suit diving as well. You know, all of these specialty courses are offered for a reason. All the gear is going to be, you know, often unique and different for each situation. So you want to make sure you know how to handle all the situations safely, which is why all these courses exist.
And hey, Ronnie, if you don't mind me saying, we do teach other things not on this list too, that are not through scuba educators. So if you are interested in, for example, being a dive buddy for people with disabilities, we teach HSA Dive Buddy. We teach underwater archaeology. We teach other things. We teach CPR, first aid, you know, all these other kinds of life-saving courses too. So.
So other advanced diving, we have extended range diving, which includes cavern, cave, wrecks. Then we have training for equipment, experience. So here you have, you know, all different kinds of setups. You have, you know, side mount, you have rebreathers, you have different mixes of gas, like nitrox is one of those mixes of gas. And there's all different kinds of reasons to use different mixes of gas, but it starts getting real technical, so I don't want to bore you guys. But here you can see you got professionals using, you know, two-way communicators and all kinds of stuff, obviously very expensive equipment. So this is super important, especially as a new diver, logging your dives, especially if you want to travel. There's certain places where you will not be allowed to dive if you cannot prove or, you know, show, your logbook proving that you've been going on dives regularly, that you keep up with all of the annotations and stuff like that. It's a little daunting at first, but if you just make sure you do it, kind of at a regular time after your dive, usually immediately after is the best time. Just fill it out, and it'll be a lot easier to keep up with than trying to remember afterwards, ask a dive buddy or anything like that. So keep a record. Required at some resorts, like I mentioned. Required for further training, so each level requires a certain amount of dives and time in the water. Helpful if injured while diving, and then fun to reference for years later. especially the notes. You know, make sure you write good notes, good comments, write everything down, write what gear you were using, especially if you're having new gear, write what, like, you know, weight changes for your setups and stuff like that. It'll help you keep track of everything and be a better diver. So here we've got local diving, Gulf of Mexico diving, Panama City Beach, Pensacola, Destin, spring diving, Blue Grotto, Troy Springs, Manatee Springs, Morrison Springs, Ginny Springs, and hundreds of others. River diving, Wississa River, Big Blue, Wakulla, St. Mark's River, and more. And then Atlantic diving, Jupiter, Deerfield, West Palm, which is where we just were, Fort Lauderdale, Key Largo, Key West, and more. Oops, sorry about that. Diving destinations. So, you know, like I said, travel is going to be a big part of scuba for a lot of people. So there's a lot of stuff to see underwater, all different kinds of fish and creatures. You got, you know, trumpet fish over here, which I always love. Anything, you know, those strange looking kind of fish. Different kind of grouper. Some predatory fish. See its teeth right there. Artificial reefs and wrecks. These are super common in Florida. So I actually want to get wreck certified as well, but obviously that's a extra certification. Lots of cool creatures live on these wrecks. You can even find like octopus, grouper, Goliath grouper, all kinds of really, really cool creatures.
And let me
Small
just
creatures
say,
as
hey,
well.
Ronnie, let me just say really quick, when Ronnie said he wants to get wreck certified, we all, we dive shipwrecks all the time. What Ronnie wants to do is basically the equivalent of cave diving into a shipwreck. So that's completely different. Penetration dives into a shipwreck. What we do is we do swim throughs. Those are not penetration dives. So Ronnie's talking about getting a highly technical certification, which is the equivalent of cave diving into a wreck, where you have to run a line and everything else. So if you ever get to that point where you're experienced enough and you want to do that, we have great instructors we work with who can teach you. We have a really cool instructor in Panama City that we love to work with. And then, of course, if you wanted to get cave dive certified, we love to work with Ed Sorensen and his crew in Mariana. So there are certain things that we take other people's classes and they take our classes, which is fun. So anyway, yeah, but Ronnie's been on hundreds of shipwrecks, but yeah, he just wants to look at them in a whole different way.
Sometimes about big creatures like to hide inside too.
Yeah.
I know that octopus doesn't like to come out in Panama City very much, at least
I
not
like-
during the daytime.
Yeah, I have a way of getting her to come and see me.
I've only seen her once,
I'm
unfortunately.
an octopus whisperer.
So then we got little creatures, which is actually my favorite. of all
On the
little-
left,
say it?
Christmas tree worms.
Oh
that's-
yeah. We got brittle stars down here inside of a sponge. Believe this is like a coral of some kind.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of, you know, a lot of these creatures kind of live in a symbiosis with each other, either kind of like using each other as protection, habitat, even sometimes like sustenance from like their mucus and whatnot. The goby and enemy shrimp, I have a few of these guys in my tank, really cute little guys. Hermit crabs, we saw a bunch of them at Blue Heron Bridge. They were crawling all over at nighttime. Nighttime creatures, so we've got lobsters, squids, reef squid. Exciting finds, so more eels. That was the hand signal I was trying to say earlier. So that was what they do for eels. And then for crustaceans and like shrimps, they'll do the two finger. And then I can't quite remember jellyfish and octopus.
So the two finger means basically something small.
Okay.
Yeah. And then earlier you mentioned trumpet fish. So trumpet fish is this.
So those are always, we actually usually see a lot of them at Blue Heron Bridge too. Didn't see a lot last time, oddly enough, but last time before that, there were a ton of babies. Did see a baby sea turtle though, so that was great. Dive travel. So there's a lot to consider when traveling. So obviously you get to see some great stuff, very unique experiences. That's part of the reason we go down to South Florida, kind of get a different diving experience than we get in Panama City. A little rougher seas, but often it's worth the extra effort. So here you can see people doing wreck dives, reef dives, inside of that, doing a swim through of one of them. So then we've got different types of dive destinations. So we've got like resorts, we've got liveaboards. That's where you actually live on like boats and stuff like that and just go diving all day, every day, essentially.
I've got one planned. Yay.
Is that the
I'm going back
Galapagos?
to the Galapagos on a liveaboard. Yeah.
Very
in
cool.
April. Love them.
And obviously each one's going to have a little bit different setups, whether you're going from shore, from boat, or whatever they have planned. So obviously they'll give you a review on how to use their setups. But some things to keep in mind: refreshing your skills, make 10 or more dives a year, refresh a fewer, subscribe and read, join scuba clubs, scuba friends on Facebook is what we use, and just go diving. If you don't use it, you lose it. And then you have to come back and take a refresher course. So it's a lot easier to just kind of stay regular with it, even if it's just an easy local dive. It'll just kind of keep you regular with using your equipment and dump valves and all kinds of stuff. So career opportunities, we've got recreational industry, which are dive stores, resorts, and teaching. Then we've also got scientific research, underwater operations such as salvage, repairs, and then we've also got public safety diving and military diving. So military diving is mission oriented and includes salvage, ordnance disposal, and combat missions. Leadership opportunities, like we mentioned before, dive master, 40-hour credits, prerequisite to enter training. So there's prerequisites to all of them, certain amounts of dives, experience, all that kind of stuff. Especially the further you go up, the more certifications that you need, like search and rescue and stuff like that. Assistant instructor, 25 hours, so a little bit less time, but also you have to do some extra presentations, which is fun. And then instructor, an additional 40 hours. That obviously includes a lot more education based and kind of like the perfection of skills. So skill and knowledge necessary. And then insurance requirement, which is kind of the not fun part, but necessary. So Scuba Educators International, scidiving.org. These are all the websites that we find important. Scuba with Gabrielle, that's how you signed up for this. And then finally, like we were mentioning before, Scuba Friends on Facebook. You can ask any questions you have, traveling anywhere around the world. Equipment questions. I like to post scientific articles on there. Occasionally my YouTube channel videos, stuff like that. So anything and everything scuba related. So I'll kind of go through this and you guys can, ask more about this if you're interested. Dive masters, work instructor, work for resort, work for a guide, step towards instructor. Assistant instructor, learning to teach, increasing knowledge and skills, step towards instructor, internship with instructor. And then finally, scuba instructor, the joys of teaching others, sharing the underwater world, part-time job, often, and dive store or independent. And then we've got module 8, diving environment. So life in the ocean. We're going to be looking at aquatic biology, potential dangers, conservation and preservation, aquatic conditions, and boat diving. So aquatic biology, we've got drifters, which are going to be on the bottom of the food chain, zooplankton, phytoplankton, algae. So here we've got some brown algae, also known as kelp. You'll see that in the Pacific, colder waters, and a habitat for a lot of creatures, obviously. You've got a lot of really interesting stuff like otters and whales and stuff like that even. Swimmers, we got great barracuda, very common when we're diving in Florida, common in the Caribbean and here. They'll often be hanging out underneath the boat. They're super chill, fun to look at. Occasionally they'll come check you out on your safety stop and just kind of, enjoy their presence. Not going to bother you. Groupers, these guys, if you are in the wrong, place, they might bother you. They might, grunt at you. It sounds pretty intimidating underwater. Sounds very loud. And they're very large too. So very cool fish to see, especially when we go shark diving, we often see them. Very large predatory fish, obviously. There's a little teenager. I wouldn't quite call him a juvenile, but definitely a younger grouper. These guys get probably like 2, 3, maybe more times that size. Some big boys. Reef fish, all kinds of stuff. Gabrielle's really good at identifications, and then Victor, one of our other instructors, is like basically a professional at it. So you can basically ask him anything, and he can help identify. But lots of really cool fish in our neck of the woods. So here is a slightly scary fish, but only if you're a bad diver, really. So bottom dwellers. So as long as you're staying off the bottom, it shouldn't be a problem. Scorpion fish, stonefish, and in the same family, you got lionfish as well, which we'll get to later. These guys use camouflage. I actually got a pretty decent shot of it. The first night, there was a scorpion fish that I got a pretty good shot of. So that was pretty cool.
I got a picture too. I love those things.
Yeah. So those guys are always fun to see. Then we got the invaders specific to Caribbean. So lionfish, like I was mentioning.
I saw a massive one at the Blue Heron Bridge, really big.
Yeah, I thought Anna Marie was gonna grab some, but I guess she decided against it. So then we've got all kinds of crustaceans, which I'm a big fan of. Spiny lobsters native to Florida, which are super cool.
I forgot that's a lobster sign.
Oh yeah,
lobster. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We saw plenty of those.
Mm-hmm.
We did see a bunch of those, right, Sarah? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Octopus.
Those are always great to see. Hydroids, so colonies. So
Hey,
man of war.
Thankfully, those are scary. Now those are scary. Someone said, Brittany said that some of the previous things look scary. To me, this is scary. Nothing else is scary. A Portuguese man of war, yikes. That's scary. Sharks,
Yeah,
no problem.
You want to see them coming because their tentacles will float so far away from them. So definitely something to keep an eye out for. And some of the jellies will be underwater too. Some of them aren't stinging though, but these guys definitely are. So even when they're washed up, they'll still sting you. So be careful of them. Here you can see one feeding, dinner for the colony. Then you've got fire coral, which is actually in the same family. Oddly enough, even though it's called a coral, it's actually closer related to the man of wars. So here you can see their cnidocytes, which is how they sting, or pneumatocytes. They have a little trigger hair, and when they're pressed or brushed against, it releases this hollow poisonous thread, which injects the venom into you. And that's part of the reason that it can sting you even when it's dead, is because these trigger hairs are still active, still under tension. Here's fire coral with brittle star on it. Like I said, a lot of these animals live in symbiosis. Don't touch it. Gabrielle has a fun story of laying in it for a wedding, essentially. You can imagine how that went.
Oh yeah. So I'll just quickly share. So I went to a wedding in the Philippines and I was a bridesmaid in this wedding. And they told us, so just swim out. It was an underwater wedding with underwater speakers and everything. And just swim out and then they made us kneel, which I hate kneeling. I hate kneeling. Only bad divers kneel, just saying. Okay. So but they did make us kneel because they said, we want everyone on their knees for the ceremony underwater. And they made us kneel in fire coral and it was horrible. So yeah, don't recommend it.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason you want to be a good diver.
Yeah.
You don't want to run into fire coral. You don't want to run into anything that'll scrape you, poke you, abrade your skin, anything of that nature. So if you're a good neutral diver, that'll never be a problem.
Yeah, and let me say, Ronnie, those of you who already had the pool session with us, you noticed that we try to teach everything neutrally buoyant. We really try to teach you to not be on the ground, because while you can't really hurt yourself in a pool, we do see really bad divers out there. And Ronnie, I know even over the weekend, we're just kind of shocked because we had to hire guides in the places we went, and we could see who really, what's the word, Ronnie? What are the words I'm looking for? Who
Positively buoyant.
Yeah, no, I was thinking of the guides themselves.
Oh,
Yeah. So,
unaware?
huh?
Unaware?
Unaware.
Attentive?
Thank you.
Attentive.
Yes. So they just didn't, so let me just say that normally we get really great people. They have a new requirement at the Blue Heron Bridge that you have to hire a guide. You can't go on your own. And Ronnie and I have dived there a bunch of times. And the best times we've had, we've done our own diving, and we just go nice and slow and we look at things, and there's so much to see there. It's so cool, you know? And Sarah, this was Sarah's first time diving at the Blue Heron Bridge. And we dived on Friday night and we dived on Saturday night. And the first night, on Friday night, I'd say we had a not great experience because they were like running an underwater marathon. And the unaware part was none of us were enjoying trying to swim after them. Ronnie has paraplegia and he's using webbed gloves and he's like doing everything he can to keep up with them. I'm in the back. I'm like, forget this. I'm not swimming that fast, but I didn't know what was going on up there. And so the second night, the only reason we dived there again was the seas were rough. And so they canceled the night dive on the boat. So it's like, okay, plan B. Yeah. Hey, conditions look pretty good for the Blue Heron Bridge. Let's do it again. Let's try it again, but this time with different guides. Let's have a conversation with them. Like, hey, we want to go nice and slow. We want to enjoy, you know, cause I'm like taking a picture. I take a picture. I'm like, they're gone. What the heck? You know? But we had even worse guides on Saturday. It was awful. It was just awful. I won't even get into the details of it, but it was just awful. And then I think what I learned the most, and by the way, Ronnie and Sarah, you guys both missed the best possible person we had. But so the best possible person we had was a veteran, a military veteran who was our guide on Sunday. That he was a shark guide. And it was awesome. Like everybody had such a good time. He was so good. He was so meticulous, and he kind of teaches like we do. And so it's all about like fun and safety and, you know, but boy, when we have the people who don't really seem to be aware or care, if people are enjoying themselves or safe or, you know, that's when it's not fun for us. So
Yeah, it was very interesting.
yeah, I know, Sarah, you got thrown right in. Saturday morning was good though. We had good guides then on Saturday morning. So, but Ronnie was so exhausted from the Friday night ordeal, that he missed out on Saturday morning. So, and a lot of people missed out, because the seas were rough. And so a lot of people
got sick.
Oh yeah, Saturday morning. So you'll see there's a lot of humor in scuba diving. What do they call them? VIPs, vomiting in progress, or what was that?
Yeah, it was vomiting in progress. They had like two sides of the boat, but everybody was vomiting, so everyone was like on the back, on the side.
Not everybody. Sorry, not everybody, but yeah, I highly recommend everybody take Dramamine or Bonine before you dive off of a boat for the first time. The interesting thing is in North Florida, we don't dive when it gets above 1 to 2 foot seas. In South Florida, oh man, 4 to 5 feet, no problem. In the Keys, they'll go in 8 to 10 feet, no kidding. And so it's all relative about where you dive, what the protocols are. But so yeah, Saturday morning, the diving itself was really nice, but the seas were a little rough. So half the people on the boat were puking the whole time. And the dive masters had, they were really good. They had a rating scale. And anyway, you have to find the humor in it. But those people who, I'm sorry. I'm going to lose it here just with laughing. It was funny, but we had a great time. The diving itself was great. Watching people vomit was not so great. Sunday, nobody vomited.
Awful.
Sunday, nobody vomited and the seas were rougher. So interesting. But we lost half the people who were supposed to go with us because they were like, nope, I'm not going on a boat with the seas that rough. So. Oh, Dawn filled you in. Dawn was one of the pukers. Oh man. Anyway. But we saw a lot of cool things, and watch the Scuba Friends page because we've been posting pictures and videos, and I've got a bunch more I'll do tonight. So
Okay. So
sorry,
we've also
Ronnie.
no worries.
Tangent.
So we've also got stinging sponges to worry about. Another thing that can, give you a little scrape. They have spiracles, which can be made out of silica or calcium. Either way, not fun to get under your skin. So potentially dangerous life, sea wasps, which are a type of box jellyfish. They'll give you a really nasty sting. And we'll talk about a specific type of box jellyfish later on as well. So we also have sea urchins, another thing that can poke you pretty bad. Usually they're not too bad as long as you clean them out, clean out the infection or clean out the wound so it doesn't get infected. The only thing you need to worry about is if it gets into a joint area or something like that. That's the only real concern. But some of them have very long spikes, so do watch out for that. Feeding fish. So we always say when feeding fish in the ocean, you become part of the food chain. So, like we were just talking about with sharks, they do feed them, but it's only one person and it's the same people all the time. And they have a whole program and system set up that they've been doing for a long time. So yeah, when it comes to you guys, don't, besides Virgil and Turbo, you shouldn't be feeding anyone. By the way, those are turtles, soft shell turtles at Blue Grotto. You can feed them. Don't feed anyone else. So sharks, they're great. They're cool. I've got a video on my YouTube from last year or a couple of years ago when I got to go. Really cool experience. Wish I'd seen more. Want to do the tiger shark one eventually, but one day. So shark feeding, like I mentioned, that's how we got to see them down in West Palm. Protecting our environment. Don't touch anything. Don't touch the coral. Don't touch the sponges. If it's something like, a sand dollar or starfish, then it's, kind of generally okay to kind of like, hold it up for, new divers and stuff like that. But generally you don't really want to mess with anything. You don't want to disturb them. You just want to let them exist. So here, it's kind of explaining what the coral feel like. And if you want to have this experience, you can have your own coral tank. I can help you. It's a great time. Very expensive, though, unfortunately. So it feels rough, but it's also slimy. That's that mucus that I was talking about that sponges and other animals will actually survive off of. It's essentially like their waste products and stuff like that. Boat anchor damage. So here you have blue-green algae attack. So the boat anchor landed right here, scraped off all of this nice coral. Not sure what type of coral that is exactly, but scraped it off, exposed the rock where the algae was able to grow. And now it is out competing the coral on the edges, as you can see where it's turning white. And they do chemical warfare and all kinds of crazy stuff. Really cool documentaries that I can recommend if that interests anyone. Dying brain coral. You've probably seen a lot of articles recently about all the die-off and bleaching in the Keys and in the Bahamas and stuff like that from global warming, pollution, all kinds of stuff. Obviously, global warming has been the big one this year. And they're talking about new strategies on how to figure it out. But, hopefully all of our smart people figure that out soon. Be unfortunate to lose out on the second biggest barrier reef in the world at this point. Diver responsibility, remain neutrally buoyant. Like we were talking about before, just be a good diver. It'll be better for the environment. It'll be better for you. Better for your air consumption as well. Regrowth of star coral, when conditions are right, it grows incredibly, incredibly slow. And there are some corals who, some grow quicker than others, but even the quick ones are incredibly slow growth. Take care of our fragile reefs. Watch where you're kicking. That's the biggest thing that I notice. Whenever we do these dives, we always have at least one person in our group who doesn't pay attention and kicks the crap out of at least a couple, at least decades old pieces of coral or sponge or whatever. So be careful, please. Polyps extend during feeding. It was pretty cool. There was a lot of sun coral at Blue Heron Bridge. So anytime you looked under a rock, because they're non-photosynthetic, you would see these giant orange tentacles sticking out underneath. Very, very cool little guys though. Bad anchor placement. So if you guys are going to start taking out your own boats or your friends' boats or anything like that, just be aware with where you're placing it. Don't just go dropping it directly on the site, directly onto the wrecks, directly onto the reefs. It's very easy to damage these things, especially the corals. You know, it's just made of calcium. It's not that hard of a material, especially compared to metal. So be very aware. This one's real bad. It's actually wrapped around a whole like segment. That'd be ripping off hundreds, maybe thousands of years of growth, you know, depending on where you're at. Notice divers' fins as well, kicking the whips and fans and stuff like that. Damaged coral, this could be from pollution, climate change, a lot of different things. Invaders to freshwater, so we've got zebra mussels and the hydrilla, which is real bad in a lot of the river systems. A couple other invasive species as well, a little less known about though. No impact diving, always maintain neutral buoyancy. Don't touch delicate reef creatures. Avoid kicking sand on coral. Streamline your gear and become informed and encourage others to learn. Something to keep in mind, sunscreen and stuff like that, stuff that you put on your skin before a dive can be really harmful to reefs, to dolphins, to tuna, all kinds of different sea creatures. So keep it on the minimum overall, and if you have to use something, use reef-safe materials. Aquatic conditions, diving in a new area, become informed. You know, often we suggest hiring a guide or something along the lines of that. Go with someone that's been there before. Match conditions to abilities, never dive outside of your certification. There's a reason we have all those additional certifications, advanced, nitrox, etc. They're for your safety. Like I said, dive with a local or dive master. Check each competing shop. I'm doing a cruise down to the Caribbean, so that should be very interesting. Gabrielle's helping me do some planning for it because obviously with accessibility being in mind, it's not as easy as it should be, or as it could be, I should say. So check each competing shop, post on Scuba Friends. Honestly, I usually just kind of start there because it's a nice kind of like building spot. And a lot of times people will show you their pictures and videos of their trips, or at least describe it to you so you kind of know what to expect. Freshwater diving, lakes, quarries, and rivers. Obviously, we're not doing quarries here, but we can, you know, definitely do a lot of river diving. There's even drift river diving available in Florida and stuff like that. That's really cool, real fun. And a lot of great things about it. A lot of our students say it's some of their favorite diving. Thermocline. So you'll see those in lakes and quarries mostly. Occasionally in the ocean as well. But the real dramatic ones are in lakes and quarries for sure. Seasonal visibility shifts, water overturn, things of that nature. You'll have a lot of really interesting phenomena happen from lake overturn. Ocean water movement, so a little more complex than the freshwater systems. We've got winds and currents, waves and surf, including swells, wave height, wave length, wave trains and surges, all things you want to keep in mind when you're going on a boat trip, or even shore diving, you know, if it's real bad. There have definitely been times at Panama City, shore diving is a little rough. Tides, so this is super important. You always want to go diving at like an optimal time. You know, if you're at low tide, you're going to not have much water to work with. So the time we always go diving at is high slack tide. So it's kind of in the transition period and allows for the nice visibility water to come in during your dive as well, which is what I learned recently. So some of other tides that we have, flood, ebb, slack, also have summer, spring, neap. So all different kinds of tides, different water movements. Overhead environments, These can be very interesting areas, but obviously, for the most part, it's going to require extra training. So yeah, obviously just spring diving, normal open water spring diving, very easy. Probably the easiest diving you can do, especially if you're somewhere like Blue Grotto, pretty much the easiest diving you can do next to like an aquarium. Caverns, we'll get to like look at this whenever we get to look at the entrance of it whenever we're open water diving, because we'll see like the spring head and stuff like that, like Blue Grotto, for example. Caves, obviously not be doing that. That is the advanced certification. But we have a couple cave divers in our group. So if you want to learn more about that, you can always ask. And then here you've got different kinds of some pictures, some gas seeping up between the rocks. I'm hoping we can do that. What's the hot springs dive that you were talking about up in?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. I don't even know what that would look like.
So like our cold water diving, but it's actually heated. Yeah.
Yeah, I also just like, I don't know what kind of like little fish and stuff like that they have up there. I don't imagine it's much in the hot springs, but
right.
I don't know, maybe there's something cool up there. There's always kind of interest. Like we have the albino crayfish or the cave dwelling crayfish here that don't exist anywhere else in the world. Only exist in 3 spring heads in Florida. So that's really cool when you get to see that. I've only seen bowfins once, 9 years I've been diving, so that was really cool. We got to see that at Big Blue. But yeah, here you could see an overhead environment. Blue Grotto's got an overhead environment that we'd like to take advanced students to, especially. We also do simulated night dives there. So when we want to get you trained for night diving, we'll go there often. One of my favorite places to go diving. Boat diving, charter boats, choosing a dive operator. So a lot of things to consider. For me especially, accessibility is super important. So we have kind of like a rapport with a lot of the charters that we use. The one I'll be using down in St. Thomas is like a specialty accessibility crew. So that'll be interesting to see. First time I'll be doing something like that. Same with choosing a resort charter. So you want to pick season versus costs. What are typical sea conditions? Big boats or 6-pack, so big or small boat essentially. Research and plan ahead, super important. Like I said, go on Scuba Friends. Pick length of stay. So obviously costs are going to factor into this, how many dives you can do, where location, all that kind of stuff, travel time. What other activities are available? Because like we mentioned, the last day, you need to essentially recover. You need to off gas. So that last day, you're going to need to spend time at the town, relax, on shore, anything but diving if you're going to be flying out afterwards. And then rental equipment versus carry-along equipment. I could actually use a clarification on that since for my cruise as well, because I know I need to bring my mask because I want to record it.
I mean, I would at least bring your own regulator set.
Okay.
Computer. That's personally, if I'm only gonna dive one day, that I would at least bring my regulator set plus my, my mask and stuff.
For me, should I bring my suit because it's
Yes,
extra?
it's
Yeah, that's
customized,
what I figured.
definitely. Actually,
cool.
the water temperature may be warm enough that you only need
That's
the
what I was wondering.
Yep.
So I can just use theirs probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking so. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so I'll be bringing my mask, snorkel, and regulator set. So not too much equipment, because they're gonna have cylinders, BC, and stuff like that there. Obviously, you'll need to need to look at their setup and make sure you know how to use it. Every setup is different, even within the same company. Different lines will have different setups, different styles, all kinds of stuff. So make sure, especially with your dive buddy, make sure you're checking to see how their equipment works when you're traveling, because it might be different than what you're used to. We have all of our setups look a certain way because we like the safety features of it. Some people have different features, different equipment for ease of use or function, or just different setups. Usually they almost always have the same amount of equipment. So diving at a resort, make sure you're well rested, get your gear arranged, the earlier the better. Sign-in waivers, a lot of times you can do this online now, not always though. On time, this is super important, especially for boat dives. They'll leave you if you're not there on time. You know, they have a schedule, they have other dives that they have to do. If you're not there, they're going to continue, and then, you know, it just is what it is. So be early, if anything, honestly. Seasick, Gabrielle mentioned this a little bit. You want to take the Dramamine, especially even if you're someone who doesn't typically get seasick. If you're somewhere new, you know, sometimes the depending on where you're traveling to, the boats will give off more exhaust fumes and stuff like that because there's not as much environmental regulation. You know, they might be a little rougher of a driver. Seas might be worse than usual. And then you don't want to have to cancel your scuba diving because you're now throwing up and too nauseous to go diving.
Hey, Ronnie, let me just say something that for some people, Dramamine is not the most effective. I would say start with Dramamine. So, and if it doesn't work for you, try something else like Bonine. So Aaliyah, who came diving with us over the weekend, for example, she had tried Dramamine on Saturday and it didn't help. She took it the night before, she took it the morning of. She was one of the pukers the whole time. And so she almost backed out of Sunday. And I was like, you know, hey, for a lot of people, it just try Bonine. It can't hurt. And if you try both of those and they don't work, you try the patch. And if the patch doesn't work, there's one more thing. There's like the bracelet. But normally something will work for you. And so on Sunday she came, the seas were rougher and she didn't get sick. Bonine worked for her. Dramamine didn't. Go figure. So, yeah.
And yeah, you don't want to ruin your whole dive trip
because half the people backed out of Sunday because they were so tired of getting sick on Saturday. So.
So this is a little more advanced. We don't really want you guys worrying about this until, you know, at least a little bit after you're certified. It's just extra equipment. It's going to change your buoyancy and your trim and your streamline, all kinds of stuff. So, you know, become a good diver first, and then we can worry about getting cool pictures and cool videos and all that kind of stuff. And Gabrielle's a videographer and photographer, editing, all kinds of stuff, anything digital media, essentially. So you can ask her any questions about that, and she can even help, you know, put together a course together and stuff like that. So yeah, you know, become a good diver first and then worry about the specialty gear. Setup gear. So like I mentioned before, you want to get your gear set up as early as possible. You know, especially in between dives, what we recommend is pretty much as soon as you get back on the boat, start switching out your equipment, because trying to switch your gear out while the boat is moving is miserable. When the seas are 8-10 feet in some areas, you know, that's a lot of movement while you're trying to change your regulator set over, and it's heavy. You don't want to hurt yourself. You don't want to hurt anyone else. And it's just stressful and then more likely to get seasick as well. And then finally, enjoy and hydrate, especially in Florida, especially these tropical regions. You need to stay hydrated. You need to stay well nourished. For those of you who've already done the pool session, this obviously is important. For those of you who haven't, make sure you eat and drink and sleep well, honestly, the day before you come out to the pool session. It's a really long session, and you're going to need the energy for it. We'll have some people who will be like, oh, I skipped breakfast and now I've got a headache because, you know, I'm hungry, stuff like that. So don't make it harder than it needs to be. Take care of yourself. It'll make your dives a lot more enjoyable.
And hey, Ronnie, if I might say now, I think would be a good time to mention, because what you do the day before is really important to diving. So absolutely no substances should enter your body that are going to impair you in any way. They're going to increase your likelihood of getting decompression sickness. So for those of you who drink or in any other way, you know, put any substances in your body, do not do it the night before diving, okay? You can celebrate after diving, not the night before. It's really bad when you do that. You greatly increase your risks with getting decompression sickness.
it's also going to make you dehydrated and more likely to have difficulty off-gassing and things of that nature. So yeah, a lot of different reasons to hydrate, proper nutrition, and yeah, no substances the night before. So set up your gear at dock. This kind of goes into like the in-between as well dives, or in between the dives as well. You know, it'll be nice and calm at the dock. You're not going to be moving. It'll be easy. If something's wrong with your gear, you can still get something from the car. You can still, ask someone else if they have spare equipment or whatever, if you're still at the dock. If you're already underway, if it's not on the boat, you're out of luck. And that's obviously a really lame way to miss out on a trip when you're already on the boat, because you're, BC or reg malfunctioned, or, O-ring blew out or something like that. So gear check includes air full, leaks, and function, and this is going to be a part of your buddy check as well. So you're going to check your own, and you're going to check your buddies. Good time to learn your buddies' gear and where their valves are, how their system works, weight placements, stuff like that. So the dives, listen to the briefing. Like I said, any site, any boat is going to have a briefing before you enter the dive. Current, obviously very important. If you're going to have to be fighting against a current, or if you're going to be drifting with it, or, just to be aware of what the water is going to be doing while you're in it. Dive direction with buddy. So sometimes you have to swim a little bit of distance from the anchor line to the wreck site, because, like I said, you're not dropping the anchor directly onto the wreck. So in that case, you've got lines that you've got to keep track of. So you've got your current line, which is going to be behind the boat, your down line, which is going to follow the boat, and then the current line and a down line are across the boat and then going down to the site, and then the trail line is behind the boat, so you can help get onto the ladders. So that way you're not getting taken away by the current or anything like that, and like the Atlantic current or anything like that. So entry is going to be different depending on what you're doing. It's really common in South Florida to do negative entries. So this is where you squeeze all of the air out of your BC. Some people will even like suck the air out of their inflator manually. We don't really recommend that because it can be a little grody in there if you haven't cleaned it, or if you're not the best about cleaning it. So we kind of generally just kind of squeeze it down as much as possible. And then you kind of just go straight into and start descending as soon as you hit the water. We do that for shark diving too, right? As well as the drift diving. Yeah. So multiple cases in South Florida where you'll be doing that kind of diving. And it's because of that, the Atlantic current that I was talking about. I don't know why I can't remember the full name right now, completely blanking on it. But there's a major oceanic current that runs along Florida, goes all the way to Britain and comes around Africa and whatnot. Part of the Sargasso Sea. But all different kinds of entries. In Panama City, we go down the anchor line, like I mentioned. Blue Heron Bridge, we go from the shore. So obviously each entry is going to be a little bit different of how you do it. So gear up and then enter. So this is really a common way to enter in South Florida as well. So you'll just do a giant stride straight off the back. I do a side roll. But then you got end of the dive, time to exit. So this is that trail line that I was talking about. So you're going to remove fins while holding the trail line, so you're not getting swept away by the current. Walk up with ladder, fins in hand. So you can either put them both on the same side or have one on each side, doesn't matter. Mask and snorkel in place. Some people will do regulator, especially if it's their last dive. They'll just keep the regulator in their mouth, or if you know you're going to switch out the tank, the cylinder between dives, then it doesn't really matter if you use up the gas or the air on that cylinder.
Also, if it's rough seas, we recommend you use the regulator instead of the snorkel at the surface and coming up the ladder. So like on the weekend, we always had the regulator in our mouth.
Yeah. So the reason we do this is because these boats are going to be moving, the waves are going to be sloshing you around, the ladders are going to be moving independently, or at least in one direction independently from the boat. So it is very easy to get tossed off of this. You want to be able to maintain your breathing while, if you were to fall back into the water, not, aspirate at all on any water. Another important thing is to give space. Give a full body's length of space for anyone on the ladder until they are entirely back up onto the boat and away from falling back into the water. Just give them space to get up and back onto the boat. And that's because if they fall back, they're falling with their cylinder towards you. And getting hit in the head with a cylinder is not going to be a fun time. Or even if it doesn't hit you in the head or anything like that, it's going to feel real bad. And it could potentially, ruin the dive. So captain your own boat. This is very important for those of you that are going to take out your own. Lots to learn. Weather, float plan, always tell someone. This kind of goes into the buddy system. Always tell someone where you're going to be diving, what time you're going to be coming back, all that important safety information. Make sure you have your equipment. That includes communication equipment and fuel. Someone should always stay on the boat. And one thing that's not on here is make sure you know how to get back on. Some of these boats, it's not really possible to get the ladder down once you're in the water. So if you don't put the ladder down or release the latch or whatever it is that's holding it there, it's going to be a real struggle to climb over the wall of your boat to get back in. And we've heard some people who have had, almost rescue situations because they couldn't get back into their boat. So definitely something to keep in mind. So that's module 8. A whole new world awaits. Learn, listen, then dive, conserve and protect. Let's go diving. And then for our last section, we've got just a last little bit to go. So ear changes under pressure. I think we went over this a little bit before. So here's an eardrum under ambient pressure. If it were to receive a pressure while descending, you could have this, which is a eardrum squeeze. So the pressure differential between the air cavities of your ear versus the outside water could cause pressure to push and stretch your eardrum essentially. And under severe cases can cause like vertigo, things of that nature, discomfort, obviously. There's also a reverse ear block that can happen as you ascend. You basically handle these inversely the same way. So if you're descending and you have a squeeze, so you have discomfort, you have pain, it should never hurt while scuba diving. This is something really important. Your ears and sinus cavities should not be hurting while diving. So if it starts becoming uncomfortable while descending, all you do is you come up a little bit, clear your ears. Remember all those different clearing maneuvers that we did last time? Go through all of them if you have to. However long it takes you, you don't want to hurt yourself. You have some very delicate nerves in those areas. And you don't want to ruin your dive too, So there's no rush, slow clears. Don't hurt yourself trying to clear your nose either. We've had some students do that too, bloody noses and stuff like that. So you just come up a little bit. Yeah, like really smashing it. Yeah. So you just come up a little bit, clear your ear, whichever way is best for you, and then continue the dive. It's usually just that simple. Same thing, it's a lot rarer, but same thing for the reverse block. So if you're coming up and it starts becoming uncomfortable, painful, just descend a little bit, clear your ears, and then continue the ascent. I don't actually even know anyone that's had a reverse block, but the regular squeeze is pretty common. Just clear your ears, and that's why we say clear early and often, because if you're constantly clearing, it's just never going to build up pressure. And like I said, clear early and often. So middle ear barotrauma, signs and symptoms. This is kind of what I was mentioning before. A feeling of clogged or stuffed ears, ear discomfort or pain. Pain increases with descent during dive. In severe cases, fluid buildup and bleeding or rupture leading to vertigo and hearing loss. Never had that happen, thankfully. So the number one thing we recommend, and we even recommend it for the pool, because it helps even in the pool and that little bit of water. So the number one thing is Docs Pro plugs. They're safe for scuba. They're vented, which is this little dot right here, to protect your ears. It allows for equalization between your ear and the water. Gabrielle is a distributor, so you can actually get them cheaper from her than getting them online. $15 for regular. We always recommend getting the leashed. We're going to be moving around a lot for hours at a time in the pool session and even on regular dives, especially when you're going on boats and stuff like that. There's travel time and all kinds of movement and whatnot. You're going to lose these if you don't have the tether. We've had people lose them at the pool session the same day that they bought them when they don't have them tethered. So just get the tethered one, the leashed ones. It makes it a lot easier. And then the other product that Gabrielle is also a distributor for is Ear Shield. It's a mineral oil, and this is an additional protection. So this you spray into your ear, and then you would put the Pro plugs on top of it. And this is for people who have like really bad ear problems. And if you do both of these things, we've never really had a student have problems.
So the trifecta is add 120 milligram Sudafed.
Right.
I call that the trifecta of ear protection.
Yeah. So ear clearing. Guess we can have everyone practice this.
A quick
so
practice.
we can say again.
Yeah, let's do a quick practice.
Cool. So let's go ahead and go through this again, everyone, just so you can remember all the different maneuvers. So Valsalva, this is the one you're probably most familiar with. Gently pinch your nose and gently blow air through it until you feel the pop, until you feel the pressure change. Voluntary tubal opening. Tense your throat, push your jaw forward. This is how I do it in an airplane, but it doesn't work for me underwater, so I actually use the Valsalva maneuver. Then we've got Toynbee, pinch your nose and swallow. I do this underwater too sometimes. Frenzel maneuver, pinch your nose, make the sound of the letter K. Lowry, pinch your nose, blow and swallow. And then Edmonds technique, pinch your nose, blow, and push your jaw forward. And if you go through all of those, one of them should work for you underwater. Like I mentioned, some of them don't work in some places and not others. So make sure you try them all. Some work better than others too, for just the situation. Oh, another thing real quick before we move on. With ear clearing, another thing that also helps that we recommend is we'll kind of like point up, and what we're trying to tell you to do is like crane your neck. So like if you extend your neck, it forces the eustachian tubes in your throat to extend, and it allows the fluid to drain more easily. It allows you to equalize more easily. So that's something that's not on here that you should keep in mind. Transfer of knowledge, we're getting to the very last bit of it. So study guide pages 21, 22, and workbook A. So score requirement for the test is 80% and above. We've never had someone not pass, so don't freak out about the test and the exam or test anxiety or anything like that. We've never had someone fail. We do a really good job of making sure we go over everything we want you to know.
Yeah, and oral review, it says oral review is 60 to 79, but we orally review every time with everybody.
Yeah, every question. Yeah. So we're not even going to worry about the retakes. You guys will be fine. Course review, physics. How deep to double atmospheric pressure? Gabrielle asked this earlier. Logan put it up.
33.
Jonathan's got it. Yep, very good. 33 feet of seawater. Anyone remember for freshwater?
Kenley?
34 feet.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yep, very good. Both got it. Very good. So 33 feet of seawater. And just a reminder, each atmosphere is equal to 14.7 pounds per square inch. That is another equivalents you'll see very often in scuba diving. So 1 quart of air at 66 feet of seawater becomes how much arriving at the surface? So this is Boyle's law. So 1 quart becomes how much at the surface from 66 feet?
Two quarts, right? It doubles.
How many atmospheres absolute is 66?
Two.
You're forgetting one, aren't you?
Yeah.
There's one at the surface as well.
So 3.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
it.
Because you're at 3 atmospheres absolute at 66 feet. So it would become 3 times larger. So go
Yeah,
from
so
1 quart to 3
Julie, it's the
quarts.
opposite. It's not a third, it's 3.
It would be 1/3 if you took it from the surface and went down to 66 feet. So 3 quarts is the right answer. So a cylinder that lasts 1 hour at the surface will last how long at 99 feet?
Here you go,
So
Julie.
similar kind of question.
At 15 minutes.
Very good. Everyone get that?
Kenley got it.
Awesome. Good, good. All right. Continuing the physics review. Which color disappears first?
Red.
Very good. Roy G. Biv is the order. So light and sound changes speed under entering water. Which speeds up?
Sound.
Awesome. Very good. A balloon full of water taken from 50 feet to 30 feet becomes, this is a new one. I haven't seen this one before.
A balloon full of water.
There you go.
Mhm.
That's
Exactly.
right.
So-
That's a trick question.
I was like,
You have seen it before, you just
stays
forgot.
full.
It is a trick question. It's still a quart because it's water, it's not air. That's funny.
Exactly, because water is not compressible.
You were
like
just
air.
seeing if you're still awake.
Mhm.
Last
And
slide,
then-
Ronnie, last
Yep.
slide.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Review. So we've got scuba cylinders need an annual VIP inspection and a 5-year hydrostatic. You're going to use wetsuits below 80 degrees. We use it even above that for us.
Yeah.
We're special. Red is the first color to disappear as you descend, like you guys said. Objects appear closer and larger. That's because of the diffraction and fraction of water. You've got clear your ears early and often because of the pressure changes and taking care of your airspaces. Always breathe, never hold your breath. Super important. When you're in the pool, anytime the regulator is not in your mouth, you have to blow bubbles. You don't have to empty your entire lungs in, a couple seconds, but just small bubbles constantly. And that's just to protect your lungs in case you're surfacing.
All right, you can stop there.
Awesome.
I think everyone has the dive table problem, so we'll just stop there. I thank you, Ronnie, so much. Thank you. Anyone have questions for Ronnie? For anyone who did not see what I typed in the chat box, we are all set for Sunday. I found actually a former student from last year, Haley, who is a doctor, has a heated pool. And we're going to give her the amount that we would have paid to FAMU for her to crank up the heat for us since it's going to be a colder day. And she is going to heat it to as much as we want. So I'm shooting for like 85 to 87 would be nice. Okay. And yeah, so, so it's going to be awesome. And I did put in the chat box what the address is, but I'm not going to say it out loud here in case somebody gets a link and I don't want them going to her house. So I'll put it in our email too, okay? But it is in the chat box. I'll put it in our email. I do want to confirm everyone who had signed up. Annika, Caitlin, Caleb, Christy, Kenley, Logan, Quentin, and possibly Maria are all going to still be there Sunday, correct? Awesome.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Kenley needs to move. Okay. Text me. and Ronnie, I'll reach back out to you and see. It's going to be cold, and so I would understand if you didn't want to be there. And I think I'm only going to have 6 to 7 students. So Kenley, you said you can't be there Sunday? Going out of town. Okay. All right. So yeah, so it's not going to be a big group. So actually that might be really good for us getting through the skills quickly. So if anyone does, want to hop in, we might be able to take one more, if not. So, and Maria, keep in touch with me. Let me know if you're feeling better, and assuming you got your doctor sign off and you're ready to go. So, all right. Yeah, Crystal Rivers diving with the manatees is awesome, awesome, awesome. So, but next winter you can plan on doing it, I guess. So thank you. And thanks for your time and attention. And if you have any follow-up questions, let me know. Do text me if you have any questions. Happy Valentine's Day, Josh. And hey, Sarah was amazing, dive mastering. She really we literally jumped in. She totally should have done the shark dives with us on Sunday though, because they were incredible. Super easy. Sharks are like puppy dogs in the ocean. So I've been posting videos, and after we sign off, I'll post some more. But Sarah, you rock. So let me know if you want to be there Sunday. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you. Ronnie, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
So yeah, Sunday, 9 a.m. as planned, just a different location. Everything else is the same as planned. 9 a.m. I'll send a follow-up email. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Night.